All right, guys, you know what isn't really appreciated, though, is some casting news about the upcoming Harry Potter show. In particular, it looks like they're going to race swap Severus Snape. And guys, I don't know if you know this, but Harry Potter's kind of a big deal. It's like up there with Star Wars in terms of worldwide fan base.
Kind of.
But there's a little bit of misinfo going on about out there that I want to kind of touch on. So the thing that's really been driving this news has been this discussing film post where it says Paapa Essiedu has now been cast as Severus Snape in the Harry Potter series, and its source is Deadline as its source. And as with most things, Twitter, everything, everyone sees this and it's like, oh my God, they cast Severus Snape. But if you actually go to Deadline, it says that they're near to a deal to play Snape in the HBO series. So like they're in the middle of casting. They just cast John Lithgow as Dumbledore, so Severus Snape hasn't yet been cast. Paapa Essiedu hasn't been cast yet, but according to Nelly Andreeva, I don't know what her sources are, but they said that they're very close to signing a deal with him to play Snape. So it's not 100% sure yet, but the likelihood of it happening is quite high. So Blaine, I want to start with you and get your take on this. What do you think about them casting a black man as Severus Snape, who happens to be Harry Potter's biggest foil?
Right. Yeah. This is just such an odd choice because there are a lot of the professors and stuff that they could have done something like this with that I think that people would have had less of an issue with. But this specific one, with how he's described and the pale of skin, the greasy hair that's long, and all this stuff, like it just doesn't work for this character. And it seems like most people are pretty against this thing. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm at the point where it's like I came to the conclusion to just laugh about this. I ended up making a video for our Critical Cast channel yesterday, and I'm like, look, here's the deal. I want him to look like Andre 3000. Like I want the straight long black hair like from Outcast. I want him to just like full blown emo. If they're gonna go for it, go hard. But the thing is, it's like this dude is not. He's the wrong age. He's the wrong like stature and build. Everything about him just doesn't really fit this character at all. He's fairly good looking. He is a decent actor. I watched him in Gangs of London, and he's one of the lead characters in that, and he's a pretty good actor, but it's just one of these things that they keep doing where it's like, just because he's a good actor doesn't mean that this is the right choice, and it's not. And all it's going to do is tick off your fan base when there's plenty of other race swapped casting that they probably could have done for lower level characters that wouldn't have bristled anybody.
Yeah, Dutch, your daughters are big Harry Potter fans, and as is my wife. And Jude, when she heard this casting, she was like, yeah, I just lost all interest in this HBO show because they said that it was supposed to be highly accurate to the books. It's going to take like 7 seasons and all this other stuff. But then when they cast people like this, not only does it become problematic from like a race perspective, but it also kind of cheapens the adaptation. So what's your take on this? Is your daughter have you heard anything from her about it?
I actually have not talked to my daughter about it. But I think I will. I think I'm going to ask her. Maybe I'll text her today and see what she thinks about it. If she even knows about it, she's been dealing with a lot of other stuff. But I'm hearing about your wife, who I know very well, and we all know she's like the world's largest Harry Potter fan. You guys had a Harry Potter themed wedding, for God's sakes. And that blows my mind. And that to me does not fare well for this show if they're going to go ahead and go through with this, because I mean, I know they're trying to cultivate a new audience for this thing, but they're not going to, because the next generation coming up, they're going to have their own thing. Just like Star Wars, they try to cultivate a new audience of Star Wars, and what do? They just destroy the franchise. And the same thing's going to happen to Harry Potter. So hearing about Jude's reaction to this, first off, doesn't surprise me, and secondly, it confirms my thoughts, because I don't consider myself a huge fan of the Harry Potter series, but I do enjoy it. I've enjoyed watching it watch my daughter, enjoy it.
Yeah,
and
me
it was
too.
always kind of cool. I've told you guys before, it's like how I always tell her, you're just like me. You're you're a Star Wars fan, but with Harry Potter, y'all dress up in your robes and you go to your little conventions and you toss your wands around and Expelliarmus this and Leviosa that and do all this kind of stuff. And She goes, I am not a nerd. I go, yeah, you're a huge nerd. You're just like me. But I don't think she's going to like it. I really don't think she is going to. And I'm not sure if she's going to want to see this series any more than just out of curiosity, more so than being a fan of it. So I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's just more DEI bullshit. And it makes me kind of sad because I think they should just stick to the source material, because that's what normal people want these things to be. They want people to stick to the source material for this stuff. And we're not going to go remake Roots and cast cast Kunta Kinte with Ryan Reynolds or something. That would it's you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on.
I want to see that so bad now.
Yeah. It's just stupid. It's fucking stupid.
Brian, if they cast a black guy in the role of Severus Snape, doesn't that make Harry Potter's dad an extreme racist, and his mom not
what up, Mudblood?
Date a black guy, and all this other stuff? Like, why can't the HBO people see the problems with casting a black guy in this role?
Well, aside from like the canonical issues, there are so many better options, man. A bunch of people on Twitter were saying Adam Driver, 100%. Adam Driver would. He would blow that role away. It'd be amazing. But then if you want someone older, you got like people that can do the role too, like Nathan Fillion or Josh Brolin. Like, there's a lot of options out there. And the fact that they're going to go for like some young, decent looking black guy when in no way does it fit the character from the books, the movies, in any way, that doesn't fit the character whatsoever. If they do that, it means that they don't really care about the pre-existing fan base, and they're just hoping to win a new fan base. But what they don't understand is how many kids are like subscribed to Max. I want to know that. How many young people are subscribed to Max? It's not a thing. If you want to get a new fan base, you need to appease the old fan base, and the old fan base will bring the new fan base along for the ride. Mm-hmm. This is not rocket science. We've been doing this since the 70s. But for some reason, the last 15 years or so, they've just abandoned the entire concept of growing a franchise, and they just go, let's just reset it. And it hasn't worked once. Not one time has this method worked. So I think that a lot of these DEI choices are going to just die on the vine. USAID is gone, right? And we know that there was a lot of interesting dark funding going for pushing diversity, DEI. And I don't know if money-wise it makes sense anymore for a studio to go, well, we're probably going to take a bath in this film. We already made our plenty of money through this, ESG, DEI, USAID score. That's not really happening anymore. So
those days are over, man.
Those days are over. I fully expect some of these companies to start making moves that are reminiscent of the old days where franchises continued on in a way that pleased the existing fan base and didn't try to push some kind of crazy propaganda. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think this guy's going to be cast as Snape, because I don't think Warner Brothers is stupid. They haven't been stupid. They haven't been 100% stupid. The last,
keep in mind, this is HBO more so than it is Warner Brothers, because I sent you guys a story.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's going to be enough backlash where even if someone is considering it, they're going to be like, let's nip this in the bud.
I want to throw this to Tom Connors Jr. Tom, even though Deadline says it's near a deal, how certain are you that this is like a done deal?
Probably pretty close, because it was the same thing with Lithgow. They probably have pretty good sources. And also, like I said, the story I just sent you in the background, they probably got it from one of these people that's in there, because they have what I call the wall of woke at HBO. Because for those who don't know, HBO is kind of a separate division from Warner Brothers, even though it's owned by Warner Brothers. It's kind of its own thing. Because if you guys go back and remember, everybody and anybody who was part of HBO was bad-mouthing David Zaslav as he was coming in. And basically what we know now is that HBO is run by a bunch of bitches. And that's what I'm calling them, a wall of woke. And do I believe this shit's real? Abso-fucking-positively, lootly. Because not only that, I've been trying to tell people for a while, J.K. Rowling may be based when it comes to men and women's sports, but she's as woke come when it comes to anything else, because she's already signed off several times on race changes to her characters, like in that play and stuff like that. So I won't be surprised if Harry Potter is the only white motherfucker in the show. And even then, it'll just be because they know they can't get away with casting anybody who doesn't look like that quintessential idea of what you have in your head.
But it will be
Harry
a woman.
Potter. It might be a girl. It might be a trans.
Potter.
We don't know. Harrietta Potter. We don't know.
Right.
But on the other side of this, I will say this. Look, Popeye didn't eat spinach right away. Superman didn't know who the fuck Jimmy Olsen and certain other people were until the radio show. Like, see, things come along years after something is introduced. We got to remember there's only been one Harry Potter thus far, right? So at 20, 30, 40 years from now, these kind of conversations might not even be had. And we may actually have a Harriet Potter by then, right? We don't know where this franchise will go in the next 20, 30 years. It could be dead for all we know. I'm old. I'm not a Harry Pothead, at least in the sense of this franchise. It was way past my time. I tried watching the first movie. I never got into it. I understand why people like it.
Yeah, for me too. The kids are too young. Too young.
Yeah, and so for me, it's like I'm kind of on the outside looking at this going, of course they cast a black guy in this role because they're fucking stupid. Because it's more of the same shit, and these women are probably part of that I'm discussing with you guys here, and they even tell you who's a part of the whole Harry Potter program in that article I just sent you too, because I guess it has the smallest group of people controlling it. And I'm sure J.K. Rowling is one of those people that has to sign off on everything because she has control over the franchise still. Because Warner Brothers doesn't technically own it; they just license it. So,
well, I'm sorry, J.K. Rowling? Everybody seems to like her because of her take on all the trans stuff. But other than that, she's like a super woke lefty, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah, because like she signed off on what was it? Hermione was race swapped in that play. And
the cursed child,
and she signed off on that as official canon. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hermione's black in this show.
Yeah, she's a left wing. She's hyper leftist. She just doesn't, she has a problem with erasing women. That's just.
And
we can all agree on that. Cool, but she's still hyper leftist.
I have a question. Why can't these big IPs, why can't they ever move forward? Why do we have to keep getting rehashes and repeats of the things we've already gotten? Why don't we
Dutch,
it makes more sense. It would make more sense.
And Harry's kids or something, I don't understand. So
well, Dutch, I want to throw that to Odin, because Odin, the winds are shifting. It's becoming very clear that audiences, Americans, the government, they're all rejecting DEI. Hollywood seems to be recognizing that, albeit slowly. What do you think is the motivation behind sticking to their guns with this particular race swap? I mean, Snape's not even a redhead, so it kind of doesn't make any sense to cast a black guy in that role. But what's your take on that?
It just sounds like whoever is involved at the top is still very much an activist. I mean, this is something that we've seen now just for so long. And that's why whenever you hear, the winds are changing and this or that, and there might be some evidence that some places and some people might be going through some kind of metamorphosis of some kind. It's very clear from decisions like this, or at least potential ones, because as has been mentioned, this has not been made official yet, though I would definitely probably go more so with Tom to say that I think it's very likely at this point based on the reporting that we're getting. And it just reminds you that these activists just do not really care. They don't care about source material. They don't care about money even, right? They don't care about just the massive profits that they could be getting if they actually gave people and gave fans a faithful adaptation without any of these types of random changes and these race swaps and all these other things that just go against what book fans have been clamoring for. I mean, they've been wanting, even my wife, who is not really at all like me politically, even she is a hardcore book fan, looks sometimes at these castings and just has to scratch her head and say, that's not how they were described in the book. That's not how they were described in the book, because she knows them so well. She's listened to the book countless times in her life. At this point, she loves the Jim Dale version and the Jim Dale readings of the books. And so honestly, it just drives me nuts that these activists still have a foothold within these industries. And it's not going to be until we actually, it's not going to be until, Trump and everyone in government can do all the things that they want when it comes to public sector stuff, but private sector stuff is still very much a different ballgame. And so until we get people, within these companies to actively start to push these activists out, we're never going to see any long lasting change, unfortunately.
The crazy thing is, yeah, I was just going to say that they have already turned on this entire franchise like a long time ago, simply because of JK and everything she has stated and whatever. They don't want to contribute to it. They turned on the game back when it came out, but the game still did gangbusters. Like, they keep getting proven that this isn't the audience.
That helps.
Right. It was fantastic. Right. And it's like, they didn't need to pander to this group. Why are they still doing it when they're already turned on you and saying that they're not going to watch it and care?
That's a really good point.
Like, doesn't make sense.
Well, that's part of the reason why, right? You just answered both questions. Like, this is what I've been calling the final reef for a while. And what that is where they'll try to burn everything down on the way out. They will try to make everything as woke as possible on the way out. Because you've seen a lot of the creatives do that already, right? Like, they've said, now that Trump is president, we got to triple down on it. We can't let them win. It's like, no, you idiots, you'll learn sooner or later. And the upper people are starting to learn this, and this is why there's being changes, but the creative people just won't. And that's why I think this wall of woke is one of those things, and that's what they're doing. They try to change and destroy as much as they can on the way out, because to them, that's the only way they win, right? Because that's what this has all been about to begin with, is to try to reshape society and the way we think about things in pop culture and use it as propaganda, right, at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's just another part of that. And then the other part you answered in your own question, basically, is that, yeah, they just can't get out of their own way, basically.
I think Vic Fontaine in the chat kind of like sums it up pretty well with this with the fans, where he says, I have all the Harry Potters on 4K, like all of us do. I'm good. I'm just gonna skip it. So
it would have made sense, like you were saying, right? Dutch, to just kind of like have the old cast come back as adults, have some of them be teachers and whatnot now, and just see what their next generation is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of those people already burnt that bridge with JK.
Right.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem, is they already burnt that bridge with JK. They could have Cobra Kai'd this thing, but instead they screwed that all up.
The issue I have too is that, and I've mentioned this to my wife, and she actually likes the idea, because I mentioned, why in the world have they not gone like in the animated direction? Like, especially when it comes to the magic, when it comes to all the different things that can happen in this universe, you can do that so much more effectively, and it can look so much better than CGI green screen crap if you were just to have some type of animated version instead. And then it really doesn't matter at that point as much who you cast for voice acting, because as long as the voice matches what we perceive the character to be, then that's all that really matters. And so I think that would have been a better route to go, because then it would have been different. It would have then, I think, probably built more confidence that would be more book accurate, because that's just something that a long-term series, especially within animation, could have potentially done. And it also would have gone after a very specific, audience demographic that would not have as much, I guess, crossover, but would also mean possibly new blood, being brought in.
Well, Odin, I think it's harder to launder money through animated features.